You said the other day that you regret voting for Donald Trump. You stick by that? Do you regret it? You went as far as saying impeach. Do you still believe that today? And why? Said that he is upset that he voted for Donald Trump. So we're going to talk to him about it, and we're going to see if we could find a mutual answer for the problem of going to war in Iran, which neither one of us want to do. Dave, welcome back.
Thank you, Cenk. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So first, let's talk about whether we should talk. Then we'll talk about what we talked about in the past. And then we'll finally get to how do we end this war, okay? How do we stop this war? So first, we asked our audience, should we form a coalition with the right against the war with Iran? Because a lot of people on the left say, no, the right is.
Back when Andrew graced us pores in chat with his presence, I'm still gracing you pores in chat with my What are you talking about? The funniest thing about the grift is how honest it is, huh? Otis Driftwood, he gifted 5 memberships over on the R side. Thank you so much.
Verboten. Don't ever talk to them. Don't have a beer with them. Don't do anything with them. For Young Turks members are totally different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're all good times, honestly.
87% said yes. Okay, so that's a pretty good number. So Dave, first, I did a debate with you about Israel. You and I were on the same side. It was against Dennis Prager and Batya Ungar-Sargon, right? And let's be honest, we annihilated them, right? Okay, and at that time, you were pretty set against Trump. What made you vote for Trump in the first place?
Well, there were several factors. I thought, first of all, I should probably make clear that, and this is something that's come up because I've seen the reaction to me saying I regret voting for the guy. I'm a radical libertarian, and I look at voting in a different.
Yeah, I think that the radical libertarian claim, I'm not sure that Dave can really hold on to that for too much longer. He's not really that radical of a libertarian. He's been moving more staunchly towards Christian ethics, and he seems to think that some sort of good central authority is necessary and good. When I talked to him, he said, hey, man, if we can get rid of these riots and you got to send in the military, great. I'm not sure that the radical libertarian label really sits well with Dave anymore. Now maybe he still sees himself that way, but I'm not sure that the people who view him are going to see him that way.
Way than I think a lot of other people do. I don't look at voting as like a full endorsement of somebody in every position that they have.
Libertarians are just scared anarchists. Some of them actually are just overt anarchists, right?
Libertarians, and I believe we're right about this, we view governments inherently as instruments of tyranny and force. And that doesn't, by the way, I'm not even saying some libertarians might argue, and I would probably agree, that there might be some legitimate functions that could be done by an instrument of tyranny and force. But nonetheless, that is what they are by their very nature. And I think that the people essentially are under duress by their government. And voting, to me, is a strategic option. You could, as Walter Block, who's a libertarian economist, he used the example of if you were in a concentration camp and they gave you a vote over who your guard is going to be. Now, that doesn't mean that you endorse being in a concentration camp or you endorse everything that this guard is going to do. You're simply saying, I think this guard is going to be a little bit more just than that guard is. Now, I supported Donald Trump for several reasons. Number one, I thought that.
Isn't your name Papa Fascist? I guess if my name was Superman, then I would be Superman then, huh, you dummy? Isn't your debate handle the Wolverine? Yes, that means that I have retractable claws, you stupid. That the entirety of the debate handle name came up because I was making fun of the left for calling me a fascist. Not because I was a you dolt. Digital Gnosis started that debate acting like a clown and ended the debate acting like a clown. True.
It was very important for the country that the Democrats take a loss. This was, I was very clear on this from the very beginning that I thought this was the most important issue. There was just, the Democrats to me had just gone so far on so many issues, whether it was, even though Republicans were bad, I mean, Democrats.
So what Dave's doing here is he's saying, like, look, I voted for Trump because the Democrats were too extreme. That's basically what this monologue is leading to, right? I voted for Trump Not because I didn't foresee that there was a good possibility he would do this, because everybody did, but rather the Democrats are so bad, what choice did we even have? Love you, Andrew, and the Crucible crew. I work in medicine with nurses and in academia, so you can imagine how refreshing it is to hop on the streams. Oh, yeah, you're probably having a ball here. The chat's awesome. The content's great. Your host is extraordinarily talented. And the most humble, by the way. It's the most humble. So glad to see you here. You're right. I stand corrected. Yeah, I'm just looking for something which is fair for everybody. I'm not trying to deprive people use, but it's gotten wacky at this point, dude. You know what I mean? So that's all.
Democrats were leading the charge on championing lockdowns and vaccine mandates and just the insane COVID hysteria, the insane woke hysteria, which I think was like a neoliberal takeover of the left. And the Democrats were leading the push for that. Then on top of that, there was the war in Ukraine that they went all in on, while the Republicans were at least rhetorically substantially better.
No, they weren't really better. To be honest, they weren't really better.
Then they had a senile president who they lied to the American people and told wasn't senile. Then they tried to,
that's all true. He's right about literally everything he's saying right here. They did lie about Biden being senile. They knew way beforehand that he was. And they knew that his handlers were basically acting as the proxy president of the United States, which is criminal in my opinion. People should actually have been prosecuted over that. The fact that they knew that he was in dereliction of duty because he wasn't all there in his mind, nothing against even Biden. He just wasn't there. And they set up these proxy handlers, and that was only exposed during the debate, is mind-blowing.
After denying a primary, after rigging the previous two primaries, they then wouldn't even let you vote on the next substitute candidate. I mean, you know all this stuff, Cenk. So I just thought this was so overwhelming. They needed to lose. I thought it was an incredible blow to the corporate media.
I mean, again, I'm having a struggle disagreeing with most of this. This seems pretty factual to me. And right in line with what I think a lot of Americans were thinking.
I think one that they'll never recover from was Donald Trump winning a second time and kind of the podcast scene ushering him in. So I thought there were lots of cultural issues and bigger issues for the country. I felt like Donald Trump winning would be better than Kamala Harris winning. And then on top of that, I guess I reserved a little bit of hope that, hey, things looked a little bit different
For the Mormon Crystal Fund, says Nemesis Frog. Tanner sends in 20 over on the R side, says Rumble is where it's at, to be honest.
This time,
a lot of people like it.
He had Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy and a lot of these different figures. Tucker Carlson had some influence on him, who's really great on a lot of the foreign policy issues. And Joe Rogan helped get him into the White House. Maybe he could have some influence. It seemed to me that there were more possibilities with Donald Trump for something positive happen. And I would also add, he had been burned by the system in a unique way. And I thought maybe he would be a little bit different this time around. And also,
well, you could easily just point this out. I mean, you don't even have to go on such a long, elongated explanation. You could just point out in very simple terms, what was the alternative? There wasn't one. There was no alternative to Trump. There just wasn't. And that's that. You guys ask why you vote for him. What's the alternative? Harris? What a nightmare. Anonymous says how a revolution didn't occur when the Supreme Court ruled that Joe was too incompetent to be a witness in his own son's court case, but not incompetent enough to run the country is absolutely insane. Wait, what? I don't remember it going exactly like that, man. Sir John sends in $100. He says, libertarians want their cake and to eat it too, especially the religious one. Either let everyone do as they like with their poor understanding of harm, or embrace a Christian ethical code for all to be held to. Look, I agree. And when pushed, libertarians do seem to want to move towards Christian ethics, interestingly enough. I know I should be patient, but I am severely disappointed that no one has been prosecuted yet, even though there's tons of evidence. Not one person. Yeah, welcome to America. Welcome to America, dude.
So he had been totally betrayed by Netanyahu when Netanyahu came out and congratulated Joe Biden for winning the election before our media was even calling the election for Joe Biden. So anyway, I thought maybe there's a shot he'd be a little bit better. And I thought with all the factors, I put in on I'm going to support this guy.
Yeah, so look, there's plenty that I disagree with you on that analysis, and there's plenty I agree with you on that analysis. The Democrats did lie to the country. Joe Biden was too old, and it was absurd. Corporate media did lie, and corporate media, I love that they were defeated. That's why that tweet that people found to be controversial, I was not 1% happy that.
The thing about Cenk that drives me insane is, when you can look into his little beady ass eyes, and you know that he's basically about to lie through his teeth to you. You can just tell. You can tell that this guy is a disingenuous, and I loathe his whole no, I'm here for the common man shtick. I'm here for the common guy, who's getting really by the NGOs and this. That's all an appeal to get the working class on his side. He's as much the scumbag Democrat that he's always been.
That Donald Trump won. But I said after that he won, we were out of the establishment prison and in the populist woods. And I prefer to be in the populist woods than in the establishment prison. And that prison was set by corporate media, mainstream media. It's
the same corporate media and mainstream media who called J6 an insurrection that you completely backed and said that they deserve to go to prison, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, dude, this guy always wants to have his cake and eat it too. He always wants to have his cake and eat it. Just pick a lane, chunk. L chunk yogurt is, yeah, I know.
Et cetera. And so now there's a jailbreak. And that's why we're in the conversation we are about Iran. They say, of course you have to go to war with Iran. Who do you think you are? If Israel commands us to go, you must go, right? But now independent media is saying no, and that's what we're united about. That's what we're gonna get to in a second. But you did mention one thing there that drew my interest. Super quick, because I really want to talk about the war. But
why 7:39 tomorrow? Probably because Mr. E's a idiot and put the wrong time in there. It's probably because he fucking put the wrong time in. Sake for 5. I appreciate it. Very kind of you, but I think it reads like this: Cenk. You should just say snake. Just be like snake.
You said you're a radical libertarian, don't like the militarization, worried about the tyranny of government, et cetera. So are you opposed to the Marines in LA?
Well, I mean, no. I think that's a little bit different of a question.
And he goes right into this, right? So he's like, oh, I'm for the populist everyman, this and that. And he moves right into, Orange Man bad because he sent, by the way, this was the debate I was having with the Digital Gnosis yesterday that he got stomped on because he doesn't know anything about civics or how any of this works. But Cenk immediately moving into this. Why? Because, of course, he wants to paint Trump as an authoritarian fascist leader. The governor there didn't even want the Marines, and he sent him in anyway. Well, next time, do your job. Do your job, and they won't have to send the Marines in. But unfortunately for Cenk, we here at the Crucible covered all of that from day one, every single night, and then made sure you had additional coverage after that. We sent you over to Rob Knorr. Every place it was going on, we watched, and we know that those cops were given orders to stand down. You could see it. They were sitting across the street watching looting and rioting, and did nothing. And you could tell that they wanted to. So, yeah.